Hi everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another Simon Hurley Create video. Today I'm going to be making a one-layer Christmas card because I still have those to make. So let me talk about what we're using. I've got the Window Maker Stencil by Simon Hurley Create. We're also going to be using this Space Training stamp set. I just think this one is absolutely adorable. And we're going to be using some elements from the Snazzy Snowman set as well. And then of course I have some Simon Hurley Creates dark white cardstock that we plan to use. We're going to be doing some ink blending, and you're going to see that stencil really bring a scene to life. So as I get this stencil, I'm going to do my best to center that up onto a piece of cardstock that I have cut down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So it's the full front of an A2 size card. And I've pulled out some Post-it type tape. This is actually Heffy tape. It's great and it's nice and thick, and I'm able to use these 4 pieces the entire time that I'm doing my stenciling, so I like that a lot too. Alright, so I'm going to start by using some Woof ink. And this is by Simon Hurley Create as well, and I'm just going to blend that right on there with a Blender Buddy brush that I have. And I'm going to try to go kind of light because I do plan to do some stamping on there, so I'm just mostly keeping that color concentrated around the edges. I'll remove the stencil and then we'll go to the next part. I didn't do a great job of, well, I didn't do any job of cleaning off any of the ink. I do suggest doing that so that way you don't take the chance of marking up or getting the ink on your hands and moving it onto your paper. So I do suggest that, but I also very highly suggest that you use some sort of masking paper or tape so that you don't get residual ink in areas you don't want it. I have used this stencil in the past and have definitely, made the mistake of not using something like this, and I did get residual ink in places I didn't want it, and it's just a pain to try to get off of there, so I don't suggest it. Alright, we're moving on to the other little pieces. I'm just moving it around to see what I might want to add, and I decide to put the shutters on there. So we're just going to center those up the best that we can. The brown ink that I used was the GRRR ink by Simon Hurley Create. So it's just a nice soft brown, works beautifully. I think I actually need to re-ink mine because I use these so often. If you watch me at all, you know that I love these inks. And this first color that I put down is Bee Sting, so my shutters are going to be a really fun red. I've always thought that a house with red shutters would be so cool. So we'll put that color down. That's going to be the base of our shutter. And then for the grates in our shutter, we're going to bring in some Game Over. So that is a darker red ink, and it just matches up beautifully with our Bee Sting. And everything with this stencil just lines up so great. So we'll just use that same blending brush and blend that right over the top of there. And it doesn't really even look like you're doing much until you pull it away, and then you see the magic of the stencil. And I think this stencil is absolutely one of my favorites. I love scene building anyway, but this is such a unique stencil that it's, anyway, super fun. So here I should have probably done a little bit more cleaning off of my of my stencil, but something lazy in me had to show through, and clearly it was the cleaning. Alright, we'll bring in that GRRR ink again for the bottom part of our window and just blend that over the top. And then when we're done with that, I'm going to move on to doing some brickwork. So as I had mentioned, I have used this stencil once before. I'm going to have that video linked down below if you'd like other ideas. I did actually use it with the Space Training stamp set as well, but it's just another fun way. You could do all kinds of seasons and occasions with this stamp set, or the stamp set and the stencil. So I just think it's a lot of fun. All right, for my color of brickwork, I pulled in some Tropical Tango. I was going to bring in some Minty Fresh later, but I just liked the Tropical Tango so much that I decided to stick with that. So I'm just lightly blending that in various spots. I tried to go with the rule of odds, and I just kind of went to every corner. So I will bring in another little bit down at the bottom. See, you can see that I do have a little bit of red that kind of transferred up there, so I'm going to try and cover that up with the brickwork. And then I'll add some more brick over on this other side, just a little bit, not a lot. I love that this stencil is one of those that you could line that brick up all the way across a page. Like you could just keep going and then you'd have full brickwork all the way across something. But I thought this kind of reminded me of almost like a cottagey type feel.
Then I'm going to take the blender brush that I have that has a little bit of that tropical tango still on it, and I'm just going to blend that all around the edges to soften those edges just a little bit more. And when we're done with that, we'll be ready to do our stamping. I'm going to pull in some Ink on 3 Blackout ink. It's a good ink for copic coloring and also for watercolor. I haven't actually tried it for the watercolor yet, but I love it for alcohol marker coloring. And then I'm going to bring in some of the lights from the Snazzy Snowmen, because like I said, I still have Christmas cards to make, so I'm going to try and crank out a few more of those. So I'm putting lights across the bottom, and I'm going to have them go beyond the card, so it just makes it look like there's more happening outside of this card. And then I'll bring in my colors. So typically I like to color from darkest or lightest to darkest. In this case, on the Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock, I have found that I really like to start with my mid-tone first. So here I am putting down some W3, and then I'm going to come in with my darker color, which is some W6, I believe. Yeah, W6. Or maybe it's W4. See, this is the problem with not having it all close up. And then I'm going to blend that out with my W1. So I went with warm tones. I decided to make this little pup look like my little pup Lolly. She's been struggling lately. She's definitely getting older, and she was just recently diagnosed with dementia. And that just breaks my heart all in itself. But she did have a little active puppy yesterday. She was running, sprinting around the house, and then the poor thing sprinted right into the fence, which just broke my heart. But she is 15. And she is just such a joy to have in our family, and my heart is breaking for my son right now because this dog is definitely his pup, and he is deployed right now, so we're just, you know, doing our best to give her her best life because she is just, like I said, she's just such a joy. So I had to put a pup on the card. I think I'm going to send this one to my son. And then I'm just bringing in various colors of Copic markers. I've got some red that I put down, I've got yellow, and I'm bringing in some green here. And I'm doing, I mean, you wouldn't even necessarily need 2 color blends for these lights because they're fairly small, but I did bring in 2 colors for each light. And there's really no rhyme or reason to where I put those colors, that's for sure, because we end up having a couple colors right next to each other, but it's okay. I think the scene itself is just so cute in that little window, the pup hanging out the window like, hey, Merry Christmas. And then we'll add some blue as well to the last of those lights that need to be colored. And then, you know, just one more darker color as well. When we're done with that, we're going to put a little bit of rosy cheeks on her. I did some R81 and then R11, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto another piece of Stark White cardstock, and this one comes from the Snazzy Snowman, and it says it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Our card base will be some more of that Stark White cardstock that I had cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4.25 inches, so it will be a side folding A2 size card. And then on the inside I'm going to stamp our pup and also 2 cats because, well, y'all know if you watch me I have 2 cats as well. And I stamped those using some Woof ink. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment using some bee sting, and that one is just going to say sending warm hugs. I know that where my son is at right now, it's a little bit cold, so I thought that would be fun. I want to do some splatter, so I've taken some of that leftover Post-it and put it over the top of my pup so that she doesn't get covered. And I'm going to use some Picket Fence Distress Paint, just a little bit of that, and I'm also going to bring in some Gansai Tambi watercolors. These are the Starry Night colors. I like this because you can match up your paints. But basically what I did is I splattered the color that I chose, the Gansai Tambi watercolor, all over. It's very shimmery. And then I took a little bit of that paint and just mixed it with the picket fences. So what that's going to do is it's going to give you the illusion that there's snow in the background and then snow in the forefront, because some of it will just be that nice shimmer and some of it will be a little bit more white. So I love it. It gives this absolute beautiful depth and dimension to our scene. So I'll peel off our Post-it tape, and then you can see what I was talking about. Some of that shimmer, it's in the front and in the back, and you've got white. It just, this scene just makes me so happy. Like I wish I had made a bunch more cards like this because I just love it. And then we're going to glue down our card panel to our card base using some liquid glue. I want to make this an easy mailer, so it's not necessarily a 1-layer card. I know I said that in the description on the picture for this video, but you know, it is and it isn't. You know, it's mostly a one layer scene, but I'll glue down that sentiment, and that is going to finish off our card. So I would love to know what you think. If you liked this video, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.